Hey guys, in this video we're going to tackle a couple minor mods for the Basket Case BMW. We're going to install paddle shifters and make a floor plate for my Tootsies. Okay, let's start with the paddle shifters. I'm not going to do a full tutorial because I don't think there are many people looking to install random paddle switches on a cheap eBay steering wheel to add paddle shifters to an E46 with an automatic transmission. Most people either swap in a manual gearbox or they pony up the cash for a factory steering wheel from another BMW with paddle shifters already on it. So we're just going to do a quick overview. Anyway, I got this cheap steering wheel from eBay. Actually, I have a video covering the steering wheel installation. There's a link up in the corner. And I found some paddle switches on eBay as well. Since the back of the steering wheel is flat, I looked for paddle switches with a flat mounting surface so I can bolt them directly to the steering wheel. So the mechanical part of the install was pretty simple. Just drill a couple holes in the steering wheel and bolt on the paddle switches. The electrical part can be tricky because you need wiring going through the steering column. But I had some unused wires in the steering wheel harness. They originally went to the airbags, which are now deleted. So I can repurpose those wires for the paddle shifters. I decided to use the two blue wires from one of the airbag connections for the signal and the green wire for the ground. This other 2-wire connector is also for the airbag, and the purple wire is for the horn. A paddle switch is basically just a momentary switch. When you hit the paddle switch, it connects the 2 wires together. In this case, it connects the signal wire to ground. Also, I had to cut reliefs in the steering wheel hub for the wiring to pass through. I used an angle grinder with a cutting disc, but you could probably use a Dremel or a die grinder or whatever. Anyway, these airbag wires originally ran over to the airbag controller under the console, so I just had to move them over to the shifter, and we'll splice them into the shifter harness. Speaking of which, there's a 4-wire electrical plug on the right side of the shifter. It's a dark red color. It has a white wire with a green stripe, a brown wire with a black stripe, a blue wire with a yellow stripe, and a solid blue wire. The brown wire is ground. The white is power for the shifter illumination. The solid blue is upshift, and the blue with yellow stripe is downshift. So you take those 2 airbag wires and splice them into the 2 blue wires, and voila! We have paddle shifters. Okay, now let's move on down to the footwell. I deleted the carpet to reduce weight, but that created another problem. Now there's a gap between the gas pedal and the floor, so the right foot geometry is, shall we say, less than optimal. I looked into some aftermarket floor panels, but they were expensive. So I decided to make my own. First I did some CAD work, that is, cardboard aided design. I trimmed a piece of cardboard until it fit in the footwell. Then I used it as a template to cut out a piece of plywood. The plywood is only a 1/4 inch thick, or 6 millimeters, to save weight. I test fitted the piece of plywood to make sure it fits. Everything looks good. However, since the floor is not flat and the plywood is pretty thin, the plywood is going to be kind of wobbly. And we can't have that in a race car. So I used some pieces of scrap wood to reinforce the unsupported part of the footplate. Now the floor plate is nice and solid. We'll just toss a floor mat in there and it's good to go, right? Wrong. So this is something I did not anticipate. The floor mat slides around too much, and that is no bueno for a race car. But after looking around the hardware store, I think I found a solution. This is a piece of traction tape that's meant to be used on stair steps. But I can trim it to size and stick it on the floor plate. It has an adhesive backing so it won't be going anywhere. That was easy enough, so let's toss it in the car and check it out. By the way, if you're wondering what those lines are, I traced around the gas pedal and the footwell trim so the traction tape won't interfere with it. Looks good to me. Anyway, that's it for this video. See you next time.